Want to hear from you. What'd you think of the decision not to go for the win at the end of the game? We put it up as the Junkies poll of the day, brought to you by Van Meter Homes. Mm-hmm. This has been up since yesterday, and 64% think they should have rolled the dice and gone for 2 to win the game. Jason was asking me what the percentage was. I was having a difficult time finding
about 50, I'm guessing.
Percentage, but I think it's around 50. But I saw this chart. It's an ESPN.com article, and it's all about when to go for 2 and fourth down recommendations throughout the game. And it seems, the way that I read it, in that situation, the analytics point towards slightly going for the extra point. Mm-hmm. Now, watching the game, when they got the ball back and they were driving, I told you, I was doing the show with PJ Glasser, and I thought, hey, if they score, you go for 2, go for the win, and you steal the game on the road. But he knows his team, and if he feels like they were tired and he doesn't have confidence in a good play, like they clearly don't have what Philly has. Like when Philly has a fourth down, it's a no-brainer. Yeah. They're going to do whatever you want to call it, the brotherly shove, the tush push, whatever you want to call it, they've got that go-to. Washington has tried with Logan Thomas a couple times. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
The second time
I despise that. I hate that play. I hate it.
It's risky. It's very risky.
No, I like the first call. Didn't like the second. To me, the second was that was very Zorny.
Seems desperate. Like
they don't have like a money play. I'll say this. Did you watch the Colts-Rams game? I love that play that Anthony Richardson ran to tie the game for their 2-point conversion. Yeah. But he's a running quarterback. Mm-hmm. They ran kind of a read option, but they had somebody run underneath, which you see oftentimes in the line, and it's just hard for that guy to be covered.
See, the overall percentages are misleading when it comes to 2-point conversions. They really are, because it kind of depends on how good, like Kansas City and Philadelphia and Buffalo, their percentages are probably going to be higher than Carolina or Atlanta or bad offenses, or Washington maybe. But it's also how your offense is playing at that particular time, how good is your offensive line, how well you're playing against that matchup. I mean, there's so many factors. So
I have no problem with it.
So the fact that he said, you know what, I'm just going to go for 1, we'll go to 10-minute overtime, have a chance to win it in overtime. I don't have a problem with it. It's risky, and I can understand why people will criticize it now after they lost the game. But at the time, you have to understand why he's thinking that.
No, but a lot of people at the time were thinking go for 2 and steal it. Which
and if they lost, they'd be pissed.
They might be pissed. But no, I think a lot of people, I think the second guessing would be less than you think. Right. Because people will be all macho and be like, oh, no, it was the right thing to do. Yeah. Personally, I had no problem kicking it, and I do think the new overtime rules changes the calculus somewhat, because unless you'd have to lose the coin toss and then give up a touchdown drive to not get the ball back. So you're going to get a shot in overtime. I was okay. And if you win the toss and then you go down and score, they're never going to touch it either. Yeah. So I think it changes the calculus a little bit. I had no problem.
Were you guys as legit nervous as I was when Sly was setting up for the extra point? I was like,
a little bit, yeah.
These are no longer gimmies.
He can miss that easy.
And it's not, nothing also on the Sly. No disrespect to him. I'm just like, these aren't a gimme for anybody.
But the percentage of hitting that's much higher than going for 2.
But I knew their kicker was going to bury every one of their kicks.
Elliott
I never thought he wasn't going to make. By the way, he looks very tiny.
He is tiny.
Well, his game winner would have been good from 60 plus.
I mean, the offensive lineman, after he made the game winner, picked him up like he was a 7-year-old.
He looks like he's 7.
He's probably 5'7".
He's tiny, but his leg is big.
Yeah, his leg is booming.
Right, this article on ESPN.com, which is written by one of their analytics experts, said outside of 15 to 20 seconds left in the game, and this obviously was less, it says depending on timeouts, it's generally advisable to kick the extra point. The reason is a successful 2-point conversion encourages unbridled aggression from the opponent, therefore making it more likely to score. They didn't have to worry about that. So they say once we get down to 15 to 20 seconds, though, either option is generally fine. It's almost it's a toss-up, even in the analytic world.
Right. Who's saying that? Who's quoting
Seth Wader or Seth Walder from ESPN.com.
I had no problem
analytics guy.
It's not like we got some great dominant offensive line that we know is going to protect Sam and give him time to find the guy. Mm-hmm. I had no problem with
Did you think the offensive line played okay?
Thought they were okay, but I thought they got a lot of help. There was a lot of chipping. There was a lot of 2 tight end sets.
And there was also a lot of the ball coming out quickly.
Quick releases.
To take the pressure off of Howell throughout the game.
And you know what? That might be what you see the rest of the year.
They should.
Fine.
Yeah. I love that. Love it. Do what you did yesterday.
I thought they played really well in those first two drives.
If you have a leaky offensive line, the last thing you want is Sam Howell sitting back there, patting the ball 2 or 3 times and looking for guys 30 yards downfield.
This is what should have happened from the beginning. That's why I always said you could scheme around a mediocre
Didn't you think they played
line.
pretty well or really well in those first couple drives?
Yes. He had more of a pocket.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah.
It was good.
Get that kid overall, I don't know. He can beat you.
Overall, I don't know what the grade is, but I thought, and I think the majority of those sacks, if not all, were all on the line. But I think those first 2 drives, they were really good. I noticed it.
Yeah, I thought.
I mean, it stood out to me.
They gave him some pockets.
Yeah.
Early on, less so later, but they handled it very, very well. Let's go to Earl, North Carolina. Earl, what's up, buddy?
Hey, good morning. Good morning, guys.
What's up,
I totally agree with the actual call on him not going for 2 because you got a leaky right tackle and a leaky right guard that was getting their ass kicked the whole game. Pretty much, either by Fletcher Cox or that end that was on that side. So
Josh Sweat, I think, had 8 pressures or 9 pressures.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. I mean, so why would you go for 2? So just kick the field goal. But what I wish they would have done in overtime, they on that last play, the fourth, I think it was like 4th and 6 or something like that. I wish he would have went for it because I felt that those four D tackles that we got were not getting home or nothing. They were glued to the offensive lineman. So that was our last shot there. Once we had to punt that ball, I knew the game was over. Thanks, guys.
There's some thought to that. I did consider that a little bit. If he had gone for it there, I think I would have been okay with it. But, what are the chances Tress is going to have his worst punt in weeks?
Yeah, it was a bad one.
So
why was that so bad?
I don't know.
Was he getting pressured?
They kind of came a little bit. They kind of came a little bit.
I heard a caller say, I didn't notice at the time when I was driving home last night. I was listening to the post game. And I heard a caller say that it was a low snap, which wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. from snap?
Cheeseman.
No way. I
didn't pay attention.
That.
I will say, Commanders got hooked with a lot of penalties, which helped their offensive
Philly
drives.
had a ton of penalties. 12
Philly
of them?
had a ton, 11.
Yeah.
11 penalties for 80 yards.
Well, think about that very first one, the holding that led them to the first touchdown.
Yeah.
It would have been a field goal.
For sure.
Yeah.
Rodney in Florida. What's up, Rodney?
Hey, good morning, gentlemen. Thanks for taking my call. I appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
I have no problem going for the extra point. I felt like we had all the momentum going into overtime. And I had a question for a lot of my buddies, and none of them seemed to be able to could answer it. But if you look at the replay, Terry McLaurin's left foot or that second foot comes down on top of the Eagles player's arm, and the arm is inbounds. So I don't understand how the referee could not consider his foot being in bounds. Because normally, with the receiver, if he's trying to get his feet in bounds, if he comes down with like an elbow in bounds or knee in bounds, that counts as as another foot basically. So I don't really understand how we didn't get that call. But I like the adversity. I like the way we came back and played yesterday. And I think right now, how every year Ron goes on a stretch of games where they win like 3 or 4 games in a row. I think this is probably that stretch where we get to where we probably run off like 3 or 4 wins. Chicago is definitely a must-win game, but a win, is not out of the realm. And then you get Atlanta, and then you get the Giants. I think we can run off 3 straight wins, getting back to Philly, back home in 3 weeks. So
it's definitely possible. I mean, look, if you just look at the records of the teams that they've beaten and lost to, they have 2 wins against teams that are combined 2 and 6. So they've beaten up on the lesser opponents, and their 2 losses are against teams that are combined 7 and 1.
Right. Now they get the Bears who are over.
It feels right. Yeah. They're kind of an in-the-middle team. Right.
And they're hopefully scrapping for a playoff spot, like the 6th or 7th spot.
As far as the call with McLaurin being out of bounds, I mean, it's so quick. We have the luxury of seeing the replay 17 times.
Right. Well, you know what? So do they once the play is stopped.
I understand. I understand that. I'm just talking about the original call.
But the replay wasn't super clear, okay?
It wasn't super clear.
It wasn't super clear, but if you look at it long enough, you probably say, looks like his foot.
I know, but you can't say probably.
I know.
You've got to be 100% sure.
I understand.
And the other thing is that official was literally right on time. There.
Yes.
I mean, props to him for being in position. Who knows if he made the right call? I thought by the replay it looked like his sliver of space there, but
to answer his question, though, and I don't know the NFL rule book, let's just say theoretically a guy was laying on the sideline, and Terry McLaurin would have been in bounds, but he had both feet on top of the guy and then got shoved out of bounds. He's out of bounds because his feet didn't touch the ground.
But they might have to change it. I don't know.
Well, he landed on the guy's arm, Blankenship's arm, but part of his foot didn't. Part of his foot was right on that line. It could have been a toenail that was out.
That was arguably his best ball of the day.
That was a great throw.
He threw a lot of good ones.
That Thomas throw over the
one to Dotson for the touchdown. It's really damn good too.
Yeah. All right, let's go to
kind of a back shoulder.
Let me see here. Let's go to Octavius. Octavius, what's up, buddy? You're on with the jump.
Hey, what's up, man? What's up, y'all? First time caller out of Temple Hill.
Nice.
I listen to you guys all the time,
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, buddy.
So initially, we scored that touchdown on the final drive. I was like, oh, man. I was like, let's go for it. Let's go for it and everything. But we didn't and everything. So even though we tied the score up and everything, and like the last caller said, man, I just thought, I thought it was a catch and everything, but
well, did you want him to go for 2?
Yes, I want him to go for 2.
Oh, okay.
I want him to go for 2.
Right. But aren't you encouraged by that performance? People don't like to call it a moral victory. I get it. But you're very encouraged by that.
Yes, I was encouraged from the bounce back from last week and everything, that they put up a dud offensively, but then we put up 31 points on that Eagles defense.
Right.
I'm proud of that.
Right, me too.
I'm so proud of that because the Eagles defense, everybody's talking about the Eagles defense, and we put up 31 points. I felt, though, our defense let us down the second half because we put up 17 points the first half, and we held them 10 points the first half, but then they came out, scored on the first 2 drives and everything, and then I was like, come on, defense and everything. But then,
he's very comfortable for his first time calling in.
He loves and everything.
Yeah.
He's a big fan.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it, buddy.
Turns out the Eagles' defense isn't that great.
It's kind of leaky
when you look at them statistically.
But you know what? They're 4-0. Well, if you're Sirianni and company, you have things you need to clean up.
And they'll probably get better.
You'll take 4-0.
Just like we're talking about Washington, they'll probably get better defensively. I'm sure they would, but Philly will get better defensively.
I mean, they're average. They're average right now.
Yeah. Well, they have better than average personnel.
But 3 out of the 4 games, quarterbacks have feasted on them.
Yeah, I mean, as bad as Mac Jones was yesterday or last night, if he moves the ball against you, you're not playing great.
Yeah. He had 316 and 3 touchdowns against them. Yeah. Kirk had 4 touchdowns, no picks against them.
All I know is that at the end of the day, we proved we can play with the best teams in football, and we didn't think that the week prior.